When Oregon voters approved Measure 110 in November of 2020, it was hailed as a way to get drug users off the streets and get them into treatment. Measure 110 passed 59% to 41% 3 years ago. It decriminalized small amounts of street drugs, making it a $100 violation instead of a misdemeanor crime. The idea was to give drug users an option for treatment, funded by cannabis taxes. But it's been mostly viewed as a failure so far. A small percentage of violators actually opt for treatment, and the prevalence of drug users on the street, especially using fentanyl, is ever present. Now there's an effort to change Measure 110. A coalition of political, civic, and business leaders has just filed paperwork with the Oregon Secretary of State's office for 2 voter initiatives to, in their words, fix and improve Measure 110. The Coalition to Fix and Improve Measure 110 includes former state lawmaker and corrections chief Max Williams, Dan Levy, who is associated with People for Portland. That's the group behind those big billboards criticizing Multnomah County District Attorney Mike Schmidt. And it also includes our first guest this week, Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton. Welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you, Ken. It's good to be here.
What changes would you like to see made to Measure 110?
Well, our goal behind trying to fix and improve 110 is we want to get more treatment to more people more quickly. It's as simple as that. And I think anyone that's living in our Oregon community today recognizes that where we are today is not where our community wants to be and not where it needs to be. We have overdose deaths that are skyrocketing out of control. We have crime that's spiraling out of control. And we have communities across the state, not just in Portland, but up and down the I-5 corridor and east and west in our state that are truly struggling. So what our goal is, we want to fix the parts of 110 that need to be fixed. We want to keep the parts of it that are good ideas and that are working, and that the reason why voters voted for it in the first place. And I want to talk to you in a moment here about what those fixes are.
Okay, we will talk about that. Briefly, I want to know what the effect of Measure 110 has been in Washington County, in your county.
Well, let me give you an example. And so for me, it all comes down to real world, real life examples. And this crystallized it for me. Earlier this year, we had a case in my office involving a 2-year-old toddler who overdosed on fentanyl. And the first responders came and they used Narcan, that overdose reversal that we know about and we've heard about in the news. They used Narcan on this toddler. But the toddler had so much fentanyl in their system, they had to Narcan the toddler a second time because she overdosed a second time after that. And it's story after story of the real world impact on people. Not just the collateral damage like children who are exposed to this, but it's the people who are overdosing on the streets. It's the crime that's resulting from this. And it's a realization in our society that people don't feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, the rest of society tends to struggle. So we want to get those things addressed and fixed so we can move Oregon forward.
Many people agree with the concept of decriminalizing small amounts of drugs, but the perception is that the treatment part of it is not working right now under Measure 110. So what's the problem in your view?
Well, what I'm going to say is any parent in the room knows that in order to encourage people to change behavior, you need rewards and consequences. And that's a lesson we all know as a parent, as a child, as a teacher, as a boss. Rewards and consequences are important. If you make something entirely voluntary, such as seeking drug treatment, we know that many, many people are simply not going to do it. And that's what's going on right now with 110. If we say to people it's entirely voluntary, you get to pick, the most of the people are simply going to throw away their citation. They're never going to show up to court. They're not going to get treatment, and nothing's going to happen. And that is the failed experiment that we have now for the last 3 years with 110. What we want to do is we want to get, as I said earlier, more treatment, more people, more quickly. And we've built in a series of structures in the revised ballot measure that we've submitted that will allow for that to happen so we can push people toward treatment and hopefully successfully getting through that and becoming productive members of our community.
Let's get into specifics. What are you proposing here?
Sure. So well, from the very beginning, imagine a scenario where a police officer is walking down the street and he or she sees someone who's using drugs or possessing drugs, a common occurrence in many of our streets across Oregon. We want to give that officer the opportunity to, right at the very beginning, do something called pre-booking diversion. So rather than taking that person to a jail or taking that person to a courtroom where they might see a prosecutor like me or a judge, we want that officer to have a second option, which is to take that person to a treatment center, a sobering facility, where they can engage in treatment. And if they successfully do that, they never see the inside of the criminal justice process. We also want to build in another opportunity. If they do become part of the criminal justice process, we want to have mandatory diversion, just like we do for drunk driving, where possession of a controlled substance, the possession crime, which is a misdemeanor under our scenario, that person can divert it, which means they get treatment, they get supervision, and if they successfully complete that treatment, there's no criminal record. And even for someone that doesn't do that, we want to build in the opportunity where if they are convicted of a misdemeanor crime for possessing or using those drugs, if they successfully complete treatment and supervision, we want to automatically expunge, delete their criminal history. So at the end of the day, in all three of these scenarios, our goal is if someone is successfully engaging in treatment, they walk out with no criminal history on their record.
Well, treatment is a key part of this. Do we have enough treatment facilities?
No.
Are there enough places where people can go under this scenario?
We don't, and we need to build them. So Oregon needs to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We need to do two things at once. We need to get people engaged in treatment, and at the same time, we need to build and increase the infrastructure we have for treatment. Both of those things are absolutely possible. We need to start doing both at once, and we can't wait.
Does your group plan to lobby the legislature to make changes to 110, or are you going to take ballot measures to the voters and have the voters decide?
We're going to do both. So our plan is the legislature has had plenty of opportunity to address this issue in the 3 years that have passed between when 110 was first enacted and now. So our hope is the legislature takes advantage of the upcoming legislative session and addresses this issue. And if they do all the things that need to be done, no one will be happier than our group. We'll be ecstatic. However, if they don't take the action that Oregon needs, that Oregonians deserve, we're going to go the distance. And we're going to bring this back to the voters and give the voters the chance to enact the law that they thought they were getting in the first place, which is treatment and recovery.
One concern is that recriminalizing hard drugs, even to the extent that you're talking about, will bog down the system, put more people in jail as well. How do you counter that concern?
Well, the reality is Oregon has a lot of challenges, and one of them is our system needs more resources and is bogged down. But we can't wait. We've got people who are dying. So as I said earlier, Oregon needs to find a way of doing more than one thing at once, walking and chewing gum at the same time. Build up the system, the treatment infrastructure, build up the system when it comes to being able to supervise people who are possessing these drugs so we can encourage them to get in that treatment. At the same time, we can't wait. Our group sees this as an urgent issue where literally every day people are dying. The statistic I saw was roughly the size of a classroom of people is overdosing and dying from these dangerous drugs in Oregon every week. And if you think about it with that sense of urgency, that the longer we wait, the more people die and the more communities struggle, that we need to take action immediately.
Was voting for Measure 110 a mistake?
You know, voting for Measure 110, I think, represents some of the best pieces of what it means to be an Oregonian, a desire to do something smarter and better and more progressive. So it's never a mistake to try and do something better. But what a mistake would be to double down on something that's not working. And we now know 110's not working. And the mistake would be if we did nothing. If we wait another year, if we say, let's give it more time, let's cross our fingers, let's hope things get better as more people are dying and more communities are struggling, that would be a tragic mistake.
Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton, thank you very much for being here on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks for having me.